here in the Pew Bible. This is the story of the birth of Moses. But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defiled the armies of the living God. The Lord, who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, will rescue me from the hand of the Philistine, the bank of the Nile." His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Here ends the reading. I'm confused because it says the birth of Moses. So tell me more.
Oops. I must have missed a line. In my defense, I did work at the Chamber Car Show and the Garlic Festival booth all day yesterday. Good morning. It is good to see you all. Happy Father's Day to everyone that is a father or a father figure here today. It is a fun day to just rest, relax, and remember how blessed we are to have people in our lives that we can care for. We're going to continue on in our series today, risks. Sometimes it's hard to say, but risk. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how there's stories in the Bible that show us more or less how to take a risk, how to move ahead in life. Well, today we're going to talk about leaps of faith. Before I jump into it, has anyone, sorry, a little bit of background. We picked up our daughter from college Thursday night, drove home from Irvine all Friday, and brought her to the airport Saturday morning because she's going to go work at a camp in Texas. So that reminded me of all my days of working at camp, and one of the memories that has stuck with me, and you'll understand in a minute why, was some of the ropes course activities I did. Has anybody ever done ropes course activities in here? Boy, if you do them, you don't forget very quickly. You would go, mostly you climb up a tree or a post or something else, and you do things at some height. Typically, there is either cables stretched between posts or trees or ropes, and sometimes there's boards that are really jittery that you walk across. But there is a couple of different places I've been at where they have identical ropes course activities named Leap of Faith. And it is basically just that. You climb up a tree, so this is at Mount Hermon, you climb up a tree about 30 to 40 feet. It might as well be 3,000 to 4,000 feet. And you climb up and you get on this, what seems like a very small platform. I'm sure it's much bigger than I think it is in my mind, but your feet are together and your knees are shaking, and you look out into nothingness, and before you is a trapeze bar that seems to be a mile away. So I want you to imagine that in your mind, being up that high, looking down. Everybody seems to be an ant. They're not. You can still hear them, but they seem so far away. And there you are, and you have to decide, are you going to jump or are you going to climb back down the tree? Now, all ropes course activities are inherently safe as safe can be. They put you in a harness. They tie a rope to your back or your front, and you really have enough gear that you could hold a small vehicle, no problem at all, and it would catch you no matter what you do. There are people on the ground who are controlling the rope and shouting instructions, and you have every opportunity to make this jump with as much safety and instruction as involved. But what does your mind say? No. And you have to, at some point in time, overcome that. You have to get your mind to understand all those various means of safety, all those people who are supporting you, everything in the background. You have to clear your mind out of that. Slowly reach your arms out, crouch, and with all your might, jump. Now, I ran this particular event for quite a long time. When I worked at Redwood Camp, I would run ropes course events. And by and large, most people actually overshot the trapeze. You get that adrenaline going in you, right? And suddenly you can run faster than Usain Bolt. You could jump higher than any Olympic high jumper. You can go further than anyone you've ever met in your life. Because you that fear, right? It has brought up something in you, and it's almost superhuman strength sometimes. People come down, you let them down off the rope, and they come down, and it's funny because most people have also sweated more than they've ever sweated in their life. So you're taking a very wet harness off of them, but the excitement that they have. Even those people who were terribly afraid, even those people who took 10, sometimes 15 minutes to make the decision to go, they're always proud of themselves. There's always this feeling of not just relief, but of success, that they have overcome this barrier in their mind. When we talk about risk, a lot of times, I think we forget the depth of how hard it is. We talked about it last week with Moses and his mother, with his mother Jochebed, having to release the little floating basket, right? To bend down on the shore of the river, to take that basket with her newborn child, to pray one last time, and to let it go. Today we're going to talk about that same moment, but in a different way. As we talk about David, most of you know this story. This is the story of David before he goes to defeat Goliath. Now, it's fascinating because they literally pluck a young kid who has just been out shepherding sheep. That was really all he had done in his life up to that point in time. But a lot of time I notice when we have this thought process, when we have this judgment of what others have done, a lot of times we miss all of their experience and what they really have done. So just before, again, they've just plucked David basically out of being a shepherd. Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." So already King Saul is looking at David as just some punk kid, doesn't know what he's doing, just a little child, whereas this Philistine, Goliath, he's been trained ever since he was born to be a fighter. But David said to Saul, "Your servants have been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth." Now, if that doesn't catch your attention a little bit about what David has done, it's kind of akin to knowing someone that you think has only been a janitor or only been a shopkeeper, but in their past experience, they've had to deal with some pretty difficult things. They've rescued a business or saved people in kind of the course of what they do daily. But we forget those things. We don't recognize those things. We go on, "When it turned on me," that's the lion or the bear, "I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it." Has anybody ever seen a mountain lion? I don't know what David was doing. I question his sanity at this point. But he had a job to do. He had sheep to save. No matter how lowly people thought his job was, no matter how worthless they thought what he was doing was, David stuck to his promise to the master shepherd and fought his way through and protected his sheep. "Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them because he has defied the armies of the living God." That's pretty bold. You know, as a teenager, sometimes teenagers are full of confidence, aren't they? It's honestly kind of refreshing sometimes because adults are full of fear. "The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of the Philistines." Now think about the confidence this kid has. I wish I had that confidence. I wish that really inside of me I could go back to being a know-it-all teenager again. I know no one else wants that, so no worries. I can't quite reverse that. But man, think about the confidence this kid had. It's hard not to get caught up in that kind of confidence, isn't it? Even if it's coming from a kid. I love day camp. I really love day camp with all my heart because these kids come out here and, societally, we have become a safer and safer and safer society every single year I've been alive. We've started to hem kids in, keep them in fenced areas, give them slides that are made of plastic and have barely any turns or any downslope. We've been giving them bark to fall on instead of asphalt because it's softer. But man, where do kids always want to play? In the most dangerous areas they can find. It's because they have this great confidence, sometimes to their harm, but it is awesome to see kids sometimes take on challenges. Maybe it's because they don't know any better, or maybe it's because they just don't care. But kids have this confidence that I wish we as adults sometimes had. Number one, remember the before times. David, even though he is just a youngster, he is remembering what God has already done in his life. He has saved him. He has helped him pin down lions and bears and tigers, oh my. He has helped David secure his job. He has helped David stay alive. Now, we don't know what battle scars David might already have, but man, if you're fighting a lion, I would think you at least had a scratch. If you're fighting a bear, maybe he got a tooth in you somewhere. It doesn't say that David just miraculously overcame these beasts and he had no injuries. But David knew that God had him. God cared for him. And the better thing about David yet at this point is David realizes there is no way except for God in his life that he could have accomplished these things. So he comes to Saul not just with an overblown ego, but with a knowledge of God in his life. Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. It's not unlikely. If you're going to say, all right, I see you can do this, here's some protective clothing. Here's something to keep you safe. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around. Because he was not used to them, he said, I cannot go in these, he said to Saul, because I am not used to them. So he took them off. I don't know, if you've ever had kids, you know this. You try to dress them and keep them safe. We give them pads for whether it's riding skateboard or bicycle or hockey or football or take your sport. We try to keep them safe, and what do kids want to do? I don't need that garbage. Let me go play. Now, I love that David was again confident enough to say, look, these, I'm not used to them. These are not mine. This is not me. Now, he, again, was maybe overconfident, but the confidence he had in God to save him, to protect him, he said, look, I am better off without your protection because I have God's protection. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand approached the Philistine. Again, the confidence of this kid is amazing. Your next thought here. Be brave because God has already equipped you. When we take risks a lot of times, I think we get scared because we think we don't have what it takes. I don't know if I have the money. I just don't know. I don't know if my house will hold this big of a crowd of people. Gosh, I don't know if I should go for that job because I just don't know that I have everything it takes. I just don't know, God. Can I really let go of this amount of money, resources, time, talent, treasure? I don't know. I don't know if I can do it well. The thing is God has been already at work in your life, preparing you for the next risk, the next challenge. I've seen it in my life so many times, and I know if you look back in your life, every time you've had a big risk and you have said yes, this comment as always comes over, man, I just didn't know I already knew how to do that. I didn't know how well prepared I was for this job, but I knocked it out of the park. That party was incredible. I didn't think we could have that many people over here. I don't know where they all were, but they were here, and it was amazing. I'm so proud of what we did here. For some of us, we get into the point where we get scared of even our faith and how to share that. Has anybody ever felt inadequate sharing their faith? I know I have. You sit down with someone, and it's a little scary sometimes because you're sharing something so intimate, so personal, so deep. And yet, as the conversation goes on, it goes smoothly. It almost goes naturally. You seem to miraculously know the right things to say and to do. And afterwards, you walk away saying, man, I don't know why, but God, you were with me during that time. You must have been preparing me. God prepares us for taking risks. Then the Philistine, Goliath, said to David, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Come here, he said, and I'll give you your flesh. I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. I don't know. That was trash talk back in those days. Pretty good, I guess. I don't know how to rate that level of trash talk. But you can recognize it for what it is. The risk that David was going up against. The challenger was trying to intimidate him, take him down, insult him, harm his own ego. Egos are not always bad things. You sometimes have to have an ego. We otherwise refer to as self-confidence, right? You have to be confident what God has given you. Your next thought is simply this: ignore your critics. Now, I'm talking critics and not wise people in your lives, because there are two different categories of people. You know people you trust that you seek for wise counsel, you seek for some real conversation and some gathering information. But then there are those people that just like to throw bombs your way, right? You'll never get that done. Why even start? Who do you think you are? You don't know that. All those things, right, that people say to you that take you aback, that set you back. They don't help to inform or help you to decide. They just critique you. Ignore those people. I know it's hard sometimes because, boy, what people say can really hurt. But learn that you have God on your side. Learn that you need to take risks to move forward, to grow more mature, to have God do wonderful things with you and in your life. And David said to the Philistine, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, with whom you have defied. Dun, dun, dun. Right? Don't you you even read this and you get that feeling that David is pumped. He is ready to take on the world, even though he is a small guy. And there's this giant in front of him. He has this confidence. He knows who is behind him. Number 4, move forward in faith. Sometimes we got to remember who is behind us. The world may not know, but we know. Sometimes our head doesn't know, but our heart knows. Sometimes you're looking down at the ground, and there's the trapeze. Your head is saying, no. Your heart is saying, I gotta jump. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. Now this is trash talk. This is serious. David's going for it. This very day I will give you the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. It's not that the whole world will know I am awesome. David gives credit where credit is due. A lot of times when we take risks, we do it for the wrong reasons. When you take a risk just for your own selfish needs, your aggrandizement, for people to look at you and wonder and awe, I think those are the most risky of risks you could ever take, because they're not meant with God behind them. Instead, they're meant for our own good. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. Now, I want you to stop and think for just a moment. Put this picture in your mind. There is dirt and dust everywhere. It's the middle of Israel in sometime BC. There are two armies facing each other in the battlefield. Before tanks and planes and all these other things, this is guys with loincloths and spears and swords, maybe some shields. The whole battle is going to be decided not by these two armies, but by two guys. This is like the best ultimate fight club you've ever seen in your life. You have built-in audiences on both sides cheering for their guy. You have this huge brute of a man who comes out, and this smaller, obvious shepherd boy. Now put that in your mind. You hear David, you're a soldier in the Hebrew army, somewhere in the back, and you hear this possibly younger voice saying all these things. Now, you might start to grow a little confidence with him. You hear his words. You hear in his voice the absolute certainty. But there might also be a part of you that's saying, where did this kid come from? Who is he? What's he doing? Are we betting our lives on this one? I think about being in that army. Now, if you're on the opposite side, you're thinking to yourself, oh, this is going to be a massacre. We've got them. And think about these two men representing their respective armies. Except one has God on their side. Number 5, when you get out of that battle, when it is decided by those two men, when you see the absolute miracle happening, just like David did, spread the word. My God's a-coming, and he's got your number. Think about how you would live life today if you had that confidence of David. Think about moving forward with the confidence of God, with knowing that God is at your back. God is taking care of you. God is setting up the future for you. God is giving you the resources and the training to do the next hard thing. What risk are you putting off? What challenge have you put behind you? What moment are you needing to overcome? It could be a hard conversation with a family member. It could be a difficult conversation with a friend. Maybe there's some hurt between you. It could be becoming more responsible with your money, trying to decide, God, I know that we need to be better at budgeting because I need to be able to, whether it's tied to you or I need to be able to support my parents as they come up in old age, or my kids, I need to be able to do this. Instead of spending money frivolously in other areas, I need to tighten this up. Maybe it's God calling you to do something in this city, in this moment. God, I drive past this problem every single day, and I don't know who's got it. God, I walk down the street every day, and I see the same problem. I don't know who's going to do anything about it. Maybe God is challenging you to take a risk, jump in, do something about a problem you see. Now, some of you know this. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're at the back of your mind, you feel God sort of poking you. And some of you, I know this, you're going to shove that back down because it's uncomfortable. It takes energy, and it takes time, and it takes ourselves out of being selfish. And some of you right now are feeling that kind of gentle prod, and you're saying, you know what, God? It's time. It's time that we do something about this. Now, you're going to leave today. You're going to go have snacks next door. You're going to enjoy the next week. There's kids on campus. It's going to be incredible with day camp. One of my challenges to you is simply pray for them. These counselors, these kids, with confidence, have said yes to being counselors to some of these kids. They've said yes to designing a program for these kids. Look around the sanctuary. I love all these random decorations. They have said yes to, we are going to provide an exciting time for these kids because it is going to share the gospel with them. They have said yes. As a kid, I tell you right now, as a kid, one of the hardest things to do was to stand up for my faith. Because, man, the pressure is on. You dork, you Christian geek. Who do you think you are, my youth pastor? I heard it all, right? Some of you have heard it all too. But you make that decision, you say, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to go do it. And God is with you. My challenge for you this week is just like the kids who have given their time, their talent, and their treasure here this coming week. Ask God what He is asking of you and go do it. Let me pray. Father in heaven, we are so grateful today for what you have given us, for how you have blessed us. Father, for how you have encouraged us. Father, I just ask today that you bless each and every person in here, and as you were asking us to move forward on something, to take a risk, to accept the challenge, to make a journey moving forward, may you bless us and be with us, Father, as we accept and love you. We thank you for everything you've done for us and how you have given your very life for us. Teach us how to give our life for others. In your name, amen.
Stand and sing one final song together.
I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I am loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. I've seen many searching for answers far and wide. I know we're all searching for answers only you provide, and you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Love so undeniable, I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable, unexplainable. I can hardly think as you call me, deeper still as you call me, deeper still as you call me, deeper still into love. Love, you're a good, good Father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I am loved by you. It's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am.
Well, thank you as always for being here today. Happy Father's Day again. I hope that everybody gets a chance to go home and take a quick nap maybe and, I don't know, do some hamburgers. That sounds awesome. So, just wanted to read this for you all because oftentimes I don't get to the end of the story. Verse 48, as the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly towards the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking another stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down into the ground. God has your back. Run towards that battle line and take your stone and sling it, because God is there for you. May the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you forevermore. Amen. Go in peace.